Hi! Welcome to my version of Narrative Telephone. Those of you who know Critical Role probably already know what this is, but for everyone else, here's the rundown. One person in a group writes and records a short story. They pass this recording along to the next person, who listens to it once, and then they immediately attempt to record themselves retelling the story word for word. One chance, one take. Their version then gets passed to the third person, who does the same thing. This continues until everyone in the group has had a chance to go. Easy, right? The results are often, always, ridiculous.
Good evening, and welcome to our campfire. My name is Gizrael Emberclaw Runeblade Botui, and tonight I'm going to be telling you my childhood bedtime story. This is the story of The Honest Traveler. Once a young girl was sent to gather the berries that grew abundantly in the forest around her village. She grew overconfident in her abilities and soon found herself horribly lost. The air was murky, the sunlight lost to the canopy above. She drew a deep breath, trying to remember that her inclination to panic in the dim light would only cause her problems to worsen. As she spun slowly in circles, the sound of a breaking branch rang out behind her. A scream rose, unbidden, uncalled, up her throat and past her lips before she could choke it back. A gentle chuckle came from behind her. She turned and saw the most beautiful man she had ever seen. He had flame-red hair, amber eyes, and the most glorious wings. His eyes were soft and gentle. He apologized for scaring the girl. "I'm sorry, beautiful lady, for my sudden appearance. I have traveled long, but the woods of Baba Yaga seem to twist and turn, blocking me from finding my way. If you're lost also, mayhap we could travel together a spell, for comfort and safety. Many a strange beast lives in these murky depths." The girl agreed, and together they found their way to her home after several days. The girl asked the man if he would stay, but he said that he could not. He sang, "My blood is fire, my wings are wind, my only goal the demon's end. And though I know I'll be sad I left, my heart worn and quite bereft, I'll leave you one last parting gift." And true to his word, the girl was home, safe, alone with her family, the man gone in the morning like mist.
Good evening, and welcome to my fire. I'm Gizrael, and I would like to share with you a bedtime story for my people. There once was a girl who was sent into the forest to pick berries that grew in plenty around her village, and over time she became overconfident in her abilities and went further and further from her home. One day, she became lost in the woods, in a place where the light was murky and the sun was blocked out by the canopy above. And as she turned round and round, looking for the path home, a snapped twig rang out behind her, and a scream rose and forced itself unbidden and unintentionally up her throat and past her lips. She heard a chuckle, and when she turned around, she saw the most beautiful man she had ever seen. His hair was red and fiery, his eyes amber and gentle, and his wings glorious and proud. And he said, "Beautiful lady, I apologize. My intention was not to scare you, but The winding paths of the woods of Baba Yaga have many twists and turns, and I have become lost. If you are lost as well, then I invite you to travel with me so that together we can find our way and be more safe in this wood. And so the two began to travel together, and eventually they did find their way back to her home and her family. And she had been so impressed with this man on their meeting and over the course of their journey that she invited him to stay with her, but he declined and told her that though he would be declining, he would leave her with a gift. And he did.
Greetings on this fine evening. This is the story of Gizriel. She was a fair maiden whose task it was to collect berries from the plants surrounding her village. She would go out every day and collect these berries and bring them back. And every day she grew more and more sure of herself as she learned the land. She grew so sure of herself one day, a little too sure, that as she traveled along, she got turned around in the woods where the canopy was too dense for the sun to do much other than gently filter through. It was quite muggy and foggy to see. And she turned around upon realizing she was lost. And around, but she couldn't find the trail. And still looking, she heard a twig snap behind her. And a scream unbidden escaped from her lips. Turning, she saw the most beautiful man she had ever seen. And he said, "Greetings, fair maiden. I did not mean to startle you. I am here, traveling through the woods, and have gotten lost. If you too are lost, perhaps we may walk together and may chance find our way through the woods." And so, they went on their way together. Gizriel was so astounded by this man, his beauty, and his mannerism as they traveled through the woods, that upon reaching the edge of the forest and the outskirts of the village, she invited him to stay with her. She was quite enamored. However, he regretfully declined, but he offered to leave her with a gift. And he did.
This is the story of Gizriel, chief berry picker of the village forest. The forest village. Yes. Gizriel's job was to go out into the forest and pick the berries. She would do this every day. And as she did so, she grew more and more confident in her woodcraft as she learned the lay of the land. One day, while picking berries, she traveled a little bit too far. She found herself in a part of the forest where the thick canopy admitted no light from the sun. She was taken aback. She turned around looking for the path and couldn't find it. She turned around and around and around again and again until she was dizzy, but she couldn't find her way. Suddenly, she heard a twig snapping behind her. Quite unbidden, a scream came to her lips. But when she turned to see what had startled her so, it was the most beautiful man she'd ever seen standing in the forest. "I did not mean to alarm you, fair maiden," the man said, "for I have been traveling these woods and become quite lost. It seems that you were lost as well, and perhaps together we may find our way." Gizrel was quite taken with this man, and so she agreed. They wandered the woods for a while, and eventually they discovered the path back to the village. As they approached the perimeter of the village, Gizrel invited the man to stay in the village with her, so enamored had she become of him, but he regretfully declined. He did say before leaving, though, that he could offer her a gift, and the gift he gave her.
Alright, so this is the story of Gizrel, who was the chief berry picker of the forest village. And she went out and she picked berries every day because that was her job. Every day she became more and more confident in herself as she learned the lay of the land, as she learned the way of the forest. She became more confident in her woodcrafting skills. But then, one day, as she was going through the forest, she stopped and realized she had lost her way. She turned around and couldn't see the path. She turned around again and still could not see the path. And she turned around and around and around and around until she was quite dizzy. And then, searching for the path, she saw the most beautiful man she had ever seen. And she was quite taken with him. And she went to him and she said, "Who are you? Where are we? What's going on?" And he said, Oh, no, I'm sorry. I misspoke. She saw him and she screamed. Not on purpose, definitely not because he was scary, but because she wasn't expecting to see someone in the woods. And I've completely made that part up, and sorry. And he told her, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you, but I'm lost. Do you know the way back to the village?" And she said, "No, I'm lost too. But since we're both lost, maybe we could look for the village together." So they did. And they searched and eventually found their way back to the village. And finally, they made their way back, and she invited the man to come live with her because she was so taken with him and his beauty. And he regretfully declined. But instead, he offered her a gift. And the gift is what he gave her.